Welcome to Electric City Plays. I'm Richie, and today we are going to do a faction breakdown and component breakdown of what you get in the box of Battle of Legends Volume 2 in the Unmatched series. We're going to be going over the 4 new characters you get, as well as what the board offers uniquely to this set, and I hope you guys enjoy it. In no particular order, first we have Yenega. And her special ability is, if Yenega would take damage, you may assign any amount of that damage to one or more archers in her zone instead. You may not assign more damage to an archer than their remaining health. And so, new to this set are these archers that don't have a health dial, but they also don't have 1 hit point. They have 2 hit points, and you're just able to flip them to from 2 health to 1 health to if they take another off the board. And so mathematically you get 4 extra health for Yenega if she's in the same zone as her archers, as just a constant ability. She does ranged attacks, as do her archers, and she starts with 15 health. So fairly powerful, especially if you're playing a 2v2. Where she can be kind of the firepower and use her archers to very good effect. We're going to go through their deck a little bit and just kind of show you. We have gain 2 actions if you won the combat, and I'm going to kind of go from memory here as far as what is in the other set and what is not, as far as the game mechanics. Like, for example, skirmish. If you won the combat, choose one of the fighters in the combat, move them up to 2 spaces. I believe I've seen that before with obviously different art. Pin the prey, move the opponents up to 4 spaces. Your opponent discards 1 card. So that's cool. Now what we have, and we'll have this for all the sets, or all the characters in this set, we have this extra attack ability. And so you do a 3 attack, and then after the combat you do a volley, which is another 3 attack, and the opponent has to play, or gets to play, another card if they'd like. Jaws of the Beast. For each zone the opponent fighter is in, increase the value by 1. So just a cool situational card that I've not seen before, as far as that is making the most of when people are on one or more than one spot. Momentum shift, divide and conquer. It kind of turns a 2 into a 4. Recovers 1 health. Each of your fighters recovers 1 health, and you draw a card. Another volley card, Jaws of the Beast. And then you get into her defense cards. Immediately, they discard one card. If they don't, you get an archer back. So that's super important to be able to get archers back on the board. That takes it up to 6 health, potentially. If the opposing fighter is adjacent to Yenega, deal 2 damage to that fighter. That's super powerful, point blank, combat or attack or defense rather. Again, 3 momentum shifts. Immediately return a defeated archer to the space in the opposing fighter's zone. If you do, the archer is now the attacker. If you don't, gain 1 action. So super cool either way. Gain 2 actions. I've seen this, like, it's super important to know when to use that action. The gain 2 actions action, because if you don't, you might wind up wasting it. So a really cool addition. It's always fun to see how ranged opponents deal with, for example, a fighter like Bruce Lee or even Bloody Mary in close combat. Next up, in no particular order, we have Achilles and Patroclus. And Achilles' special ability is, when Patroclus is defeated, discard 2 random cards. Pretty bad. While Patroclus is defeated, Achilles gets the following: add +2 to the value of all his attacks. Really good. And then if Achilles wins combat, you draw a card. So very powerful. Very powerful on the face of it. When Patroclus dies, both of them are melee attack. Achilles starts with 18 health, and Patroclus starts with 6, which is quite a bit. You might think, looking at that your goal is kind of to get Patroclus off the board, but you have so many cards in here that actually want a Patroclus to stay on the board. So there are, under Achilles' helmet, if Patroclus is not defeated, Achilles may swap places with him. If he does, Patroclus is now the defender. Like, there are so many cards that actually want Patroclus to stay alive. Obviously, it has the Feign, the cancel effects cards. Deal 2 damage to both. This is kind of a Patroclus, like, if you do want to kill him, maybe situationally, take 2 damage away from, hit both people in the fight for 2. Day of your doom. This is a Patroclus card, and you may deal 2 damage to Patroclus if you do. The value of this card is 5 instead. Again, another the helmet. And then this card, anybody can play it. Brothers in Arms wants Patroclus to stay alive. If Patroclus is not defeated, gain an action. That's just an after combat ability that is super helpful. This is an any card that you get the 1 attack and then just another 3. So maybe they play their high defense card on the first attack, and you're able to get them with either no defense card for the second or minimum defense card. Another kind of, if you won the combat, move up to 2. Deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter adjacent to your fighter. So that's just, you're surrounded by people. And then thematically, this is really cool. Achilles heel. If you lose the combat, your opponent gains an action. I've never seen that before. And then I know what you're thinking. He has this big spear. Well, they had to include this card. It's a scheme. It's a scheme card. Deal 2 damage to an opposing fighter in Achilles zone. So they couldn't make him a ranged attack. They couldn't do it. So they kind of just gave him a scheme card that lets him throw his spear. Another Achilles heel. Another couple double attacks. And then battle hardened, huge. Choose a card in your discard pile and return it to your hand. So maybe you take some of those cards back and do more damage with them. So really fun. You kind of are playing this game of, do I let Patroclus die? Do I keep him do I keep him going? Do I put him off to the side of the board where he's safe? Do I get him involved in the combat? So lots of cool, fun decisions with Achilles and Patroclus. Up next is Bloody Mary, and just, we didn't take a super good look at the first two characters, which I realize you probably want to see. So I'll do that now. But very good wash, very good detail on everybody. But Bloody Mary is just a nightmare. Like, couple of faces, couple of hands coming out of the mirror on this side, couple of faces, couple of hands. So they did a great job with that. No sidekick, nobody to back her up, and all she has is melee, a move of 3, and at the start of your turn, if you have exactly 3 cards in your hand, gain an action. So you're just out there, 16 health, and making the best of it. That being said, though, she does have some of the crazier cards that I've seen, along with some of the even crazier art and that's a feat for Unmatched, because they have amazing art to begin with, but then to kind of compound that with all this amazing stuff. So let's go through this. They have just a 3. And so the cool thing about not having a sidekick is all of these cards can be played all the time. We're going to do a rules breakdown. I realize we've not done a rules breakdown yet, but if you don't know how to play, we'll link to that in the description. Bloody Mary. After combat, draw a card. This is Broken Glass. Very cool. Attack or defense. During combat. Oh, this is a very cool one. You may increase or decrease the value of this card by 1 after combat. If the value of this card matches your opponent's card, draw a card, and the opposing fighter takes 2 damage. Just amazing. Like, really cool. I actually, in our games of the second of volume 2, I've not actually used this card, but seeing its effect actually take place would be amazing. During the attack, you may boost it, and if it's your third action, recover 3 health, which is hard because you only have 2 actions normally. So we'll find a card here that gets you more actions. Stolen Memories. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card. They may discard it. If they don't, their hero takes damage equal to its boost. Hey, take 3 damage or discard this or maybe take 4 damage and discard this really good card. Another recover 3 health. Now, this card is really amazing. Speak 3 times. During combat, if this is your third action this turn, the value of this card is 7. So, we have a feign. We haven't seen any of the cards that give you an extra action yet, but I have a feeling they are coming up. This is one of them, closer than she appears. Move up to 1 space, draw a card, gain an action. And I just saw that title. It's really creepy. She is closer than she appears. Combo that with any of the cards that want or need that extra action. Really cool. Bloody Requiem, Bloody Reprise. If your opponent played a card against Bloody Requiem, this attack value is that card's printed value. So let's say Achilles played this card against the Bloody Requiem. Now my Bloody Reprise is now 2, and he has to deal with that. So just knowing that's in the game completely messes with your opponent, because now they're scared to play high defense cards. Another 7 attack if it's your third action, another way to get a third action, and another looking at their hand. So really a fun mind game with Bloody Mary, and very effective, especially when like a lot of these characters, and maybe my favorite way to play with a 2v2 situation where she can be the heavy hitter and allow her ranged partner to be pinning people down from far away. Last but not least is Sun Wukong, and I wish that we had Zach here to kind of break this character down for you. We might do a separate video of just the lore behind this character, but suffice to say, this was the character Zach was most looking forward to. He, at the start of your turn, may take 1 damage to summon a clone in an empty space adjacent to Sun Wukong. Do not start with any clones on the board. Move of 2, melee, and melee. You get up to 3 clones on the board. You have ways to move them around, obviously, and get them back. 17 base health, and a really cool, maybe the best use of environment, platform, staging, posing that they have so far, of just his staff that, according to the lore, can increase in length and density and all that fun stuff. So that's how they kind of I'm glad they chose to pose him like that. So starting off with his cards, what's so cool about Sun Wukong is that all of his clones do everything that he does. All of his cards are any, and so you want to get these annoying clones away from you and off the board, because all of them can hit you with a 7 damage card. All of them can defend with a 5. So it just makes for an interesting dynamic of who do I attack, and he can use his clones as a shield to keep people at bay. This is a 7 attack. It cannot be canceled, and if your opponent played a card, they may boost it. So sometimes if they're not able to even play a card, I saw this person not play Ox form with no, and the defender didn't play a card to defend, just take 7 damage. Kind of the opposite, Tortoise form, your opponent may boost their attack if you play the +5 defense. Just recover 1 health for each clone on the board, get a couple clones out, which kind of negates the negative of taking the damage, so that's kind of cool. For each other friendly fighter adjacent to the opposing fighter, increase the value by 1, gain an action. Really fun, takes a 2 to maybe a 5. And then maybe the most thematic card, a 0 attack initially. If your opponent played a defense card, Tricked You happens, and that's a 4 attack. So just knowing that's in there, crazy. Taunting Laughter, your opponent may discard 1 card from their hand. If they don't, ignore this card's value. Interesting. This is a 4 defense, and any combat damage you would take is dealt to the opposing fighter instead. Pretty nuts, especially against some of the ones we've seen. A 0 defense during combat. Prevent all damage. You may place your fighter in any space. Any space, like, that's insane. Get you out of a tight spot. Another kind of 0 attack with a 4 underneath it. Fiery Eyes That See. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card, put that card on the bottom of their deck. You each draw 1 card. So, kind of cool. Again, 0s, big defense card, big attack cards, and just a really fun set that really has you thinking, is it better to play a defense card? Is it better to not play a defense card? Sometimes there's just no way to know, and it makes really interesting decisions. Last but certainly not least is actually the board itself. It has new mechanics on it, and very, very simple, very, I would say, elegant, like most of Unmatched. It's just an advantage system. If Bloody Mary is here and Sun Wukong is here, and she attacks with a 2 attack card, I'll move this guy over here. With a 2 attack, this just adds +1. Super simple. So math doesn't get much more complicated, but it adds a really fun, what this does do is it adds a really fun mechanic of almost King of the Hill, because this tower here, like, you place your archer there and she is shooting all of this, all of the brown and all of the blue, and if they're adjacent, she gets +1. Same thing, if Achilles is there, it's really hard to take him out, because you might move here and attack, but then he's going to hit you back pretty hard. And it makes for a really fun extra dynamic to this game, where I could see maybe they wanted to introduce this earlier, but they wanted to wait until maybe the second volume to do it, because we've had castles and various other terrain on the maps, but we haven't had this advantage system. I thought this was another map, but it turns out this is just a more art, less color. Let me know what you guys think about this. I almost prefer, I guess it would just take some getting used to. If this was all I played on, I'd be fine with it. But I don't find this side of the map to be, like, unattractive, certainly. So I don't know. This is a fun side, but I could see, like, this is a different, maybe it's different. Yeah, like, this is a different color than this brown. It's pretty obvious, but I don't know. It's just kind of your opinion. And once you're used to it, once you're not playing with many range characters or whatever, it is very simple. And like I said, I just love this advantage system of not only knowing what zone you're in and not being adjacent to people, but also knowing if I'm here and Bloody Mary moves, she can't move there, but if she moves there, like, that's a dangerous spot to be in. That was an overview of Battle of Legends Volume 2 with Unmatched. And like I said, this is not a review. I'm not going to rate this out of 10. You don't need to know that. This has been an overview of Battle of Legends Volume 2 in the Unmatched series. I hope that was informational, helpful for you if you're deciding whether or not you want to pick up this set, if you have other stuff, if you're just jumping in. I would say this we're going to do an overview of all the characters we own kind of collectively in our friend group, and this really kind of made it fun again. You know, I have the first volume, I have Robin Hood and Bigfoot, I have Bruce Lee, but just getting 4 new characters, getting a new map, getting characters that, like, I care about, like Achilles, and that you're scared of, like Bloody Mary, that my buddy was into, like Sun Wukong, and that you know, new mechanics all over the place for all the characters. Really fun, and really worth your time, worth checking out. So this has been Electric City Plays. Thanks for coming.